Hi there, and welcome to the Dungeons of Dredmor, one of the best games on Steam in my opinion. This is a turn-based sort of game. It's called a roguelike game. And I'm going to be playing on very easy mode because, in my opinion, this game is very difficult. When you play roguelike games, the only way to play is with permadeath. So, part of the reason I'm playing on easy mode is so that I actually have a chance of getting through this. When you're playing this game, you can pick 7 of these classes that I'm showing. After I'm done cycling through all of them, I'm going to pause the video and go back and take a look at a specific few of them, because some of them are a little more difficult to use efficiently than others. So we're going to go through that so you know what to pick on your first try rather than what to pick on your 50th. First off, we have Vampirism. Vampirism allows you to gain health by attacking enemies rather than eating food or drinking a potion or anything. Not ideal, but I guess if you hit really hard, then it might be successful. I've only played around with it once, and I didn't end up liking it that much. So there is crafting in this game, and by far my favorite crafting that I've actually seen in any game is this one. It's called flesh smithing. So what you can do is take chunks of meat, and you can create things like pork swords and other pieces of meat armor. I honestly don't really use the crafting in this game. I've used it a couple times and it was really enjoyable, but I ended up taking just other kind of basic skills instead of that. Alright, next class we're talking about is Necronomiconomics. Yikes. As far as the class goes, I think it's very fun, but it's extremely dangerous because you can easily kill yourself every time you use a spell. And I think there's 6 different spells that you can get. You get a different curse, and the more devastating the spell, the bigger the curse. And you can easily kill yourself with the last spell you get, because the AoE on it is huge and just wreaks havoc everywhere. So the next class is the Blood Mage, and I feel the Blood Mage is necessary to anybody who ends up specializing in most of the mage stuff. If you're only taking like 1 or 2 mage talents, then you don't really need it, but it's pretty nice if you're ending up being a mage. When I looked at the Blood Mage at first, I thought it was going to be like Vampirism, but that you get health back by casting spells. What it actually does is that whenever you kill a target, you gain mana back. So it's a really great way to keep your efficiency up in long fights. The last class I'm going to talk about in this video is the Assassination class. This class, in my opinion, is extremely necessary if you're playing in melee. What the Assassination class allows you to do is basically get one-hit KOs on anybody who's standing around you. I don't know what the proc chance is or what it procs off of, but it seems pretty high, so I always end up picking it up if I'm playing a melee character. So as far as the 7 classes that I'm going to show you today, I have picked Unarmed Combat, Berserker Rage, Artful Dodger, Master of Arms, Viking Wizardry, Perception, and Assassination. Alright, so now that all that's done, we will get started. And just have to name your character, and here we go. So let's go through some of the basic interface stuff when you get into the game. First off, you have an action bar down there where you can just select spells and cast them by hitting right click. You have your menu where you can configure different video and sound options. You have your character screen where you can look at a huge amount of stats and different equipment that you have on, along with resistances and a bunch of other things. Depending on which classes you select, you start out with different pieces of gear and different spells. So that gear that I have, I think 2 of them are from doing unarmed combat and 1 of them is from the Master of Arms. What I had just had open there was the inventory, and this is your spellbook, where it shows you different things that you can learn when you level up, as well as all the classes that you picked for this playthrough. And the last tab is the quest tab, which we haven't really found any quests yet, so we will go back to that when we actually end up finding some quests. So anytime that you move or you use an auto attack, it uses a turn. Actually, even when you pick up an item, whenever you do any action, it uses up a turn. And you and the enemies each are on a turn-based kind of system. And you can wait a turn by hitting the spacebar, which allows you to kind of set up the positioning of the enemies. You can actually sit and wait a turn, so that enemies can approach you instead of you approaching them. And that benefits you because if you approach an enemy and they don't have to move with the turn that you approach them with, then hey, we found a shop. And we leveled up. Wow, that's awesome. I'll talk about that in a sec. So what I end up doing here is I kind of pick one tree to go into, so I'm going to be totally maxing out unarmed combat. Because I feel like getting one thing really powerful really fast is the best way to do anything in this game, really. But yeah, so you can wait a turn and have the enemy walk up to you so that you can get the first hit on them instead of you walking up to them and they getting the first hit on you. In the early stages, it doesn't make too big of a difference because the enemies don't hit that hard, but later on in the game, definitely can make a difference who gets the first hit and who doesn't. Man, nothing like cutoffs to make you happy that they don't show the armor in this game. Yeah. I do recommend that if you're interested in this game, one of the things you do is you pause and read the little blurbs that they have describing all the enemies and the items, because they're pretty funny. And in all the times I've done this first level, I have never seen those torches before. I have no idea what those are for. Huh, that's weird. Yeah, so as you saw right there, and also to the right, they have vending machines. I never use the vending machines, mainly because I don't ever play a range class. They have one for bolts, one for food, and I think one for drink too. But you end up collecting enough in the dungeon to where you don't really need to buy anything from those. So I just usually ignore them. I don't think they're really that great. I'm sure that if you had a range class, they'd be really nice because you can buy some expensive bolts from there. And this is me attempting to disarm a trap that I just can't get. If you can disarm a trap, you always want to, more because you get experience from disarming them. Most traps don't do too much damage. There's one called an acid bolt trap that will absolutely destroy you in seconds. So if you see that one, you don't want to risk running into it because you'll probably just end up losing. Now what just happened here is that I found this thing called the Anvil of Krog. Krog is kind of the god in this world. He's like the dungeon god or something like that. And if you put an item on his anvil, he will either curse it or he will bless it. If you put a really crappy item on there, he usually blesses it, and I've put some really nice items in there, and then he turns them to absolute garbage. So you want to kind of be careful to not take an item that you think is super amazing and put it on that thing, because he will probably just destroy it. As far as learning how to craft certain items, what you do is that you discover crafting recipes on those bookshelves. And the really nice thing about the way they do crafting in this game is that when you find a recipe, you don't need to know how to use it. So like, let's say that I did get a recipe for the pork sword right there, and I don't have flesh smithing. Well, if I go and I select flesh smithing, wow, on my next play, I will still have that schematic because I found it on a different playthrough. So it all saves what you've collected, so that you don't have to, like, every time you pick a crafted thing, get a bunch of new schematics or recipes or whatever. So now I've eaten a piece of food, and if you look at the top, you'll see a little yellow number, and every time I take a step, that yellow number goes down by 1. That is me taking a turn. So that's an easy way to show that literally every time you move, that is you taking a turn. And also shows kind of the way the food works in this game. So you eat a piece of food, and you'll see a number on it. If you pause right when I picked up that Diggle egg, it says 10 on it, I'm pretty sure, is how much those things restore. But it restores 10 health over the duration of you eating the food, so it won't restore 10 initially. But if you wait till the duration ends, hey, another level up. If you wait till the duration of the food buff ends, then you will be fully healed 10 points. And there's also, if you look at the bottom left, there's a digest button where you can just wait all 10 turns and just digest the food instead of having to take the steps or hit spacebar 10 times to finish digesting. Because some of the things will take a long, long time for you to fully get the all the healing from the food.
Ugh.